President Cyril Ramaphosa has denied any wrongdoing in relation to the Phala Phala farm robbery scandal. Let's talk about this further with Professor Sipho Seepe, political analyst. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Good to have you on Daytime Update. So we're seeing this rare moment of unity across the political spectrum. You've got the ANC, not the ANC, I beg your pardon, the EFF, the DA, IFP, ACDP, UDM, ATM, all banding together this time round. But how solid is their plan of action?
Well, it is solid and emboldened by the fact that the president has not seen it fit to be open around these issues. He is actually hidden behind the notion of due process. And for some parties, they think that this is an attempt by the president to find a way of either covering up some information through his influence in terms of certain state organizations or state institutions. So what they have decided to do because of this lack of response, remember the president has been out there to say, I'm a person who's transparent. So when there's a lack of transparency and when the matter is going on for a long time, it begins to raise suspicions. So they've decided to put pressure on the matter. But what is also important to understand is that while people may talk about the political opportunism, from parties like the EFF, they've been very clear that on matters like this, they follow what they call a three-pronged approach. One is court action, secondly, it's parliament, and also then it's the third one is mass action. And the parties have also said, failing which, if the institutions are not going fast, they are going to try to get a broad spectrum of people to civil society to participate in calling the president to account. So you see three levels in which this matter is going to be approached.
I want to stay with the issue of strategy. So while there is agreement in principle among the parties that there needs to be a more organized pressure campaign, shall we say, on the president and the National Assembly when it comes to the issue of Phala Phala, the Democratic Alliance believes that what should happen, in fact, is that an ad hoc committee should then be established to deal with the issue and perhaps even visit Phala Phala itself before a motion of no confidence can be tabled in Parliament. Does that make more sense strategically?
Well, I think strategically for the DA, one must understand that for as long as this matter is in the public domain and for as long as the president is called to account, that also serves to weaken the ANC further. So it is in their interest to still have President Ramaphosa still in the position where he's at, because what it does, it creates contradictions within the ANC. So they are not only wanting him to account, but they also have an interest in weakening the ANC. But the issue that Malema was also trying to push is to say these issues are not mutually exclusive. You can still pursue the matter of impeachment, but there's still also an avenue of motion of no confidence. And in terms of our constitution, there isn't a suggestion that one cannot pursue the two. And what one must also understand is that the DA has a bit of sympathy for Ramaphosa. So the idea of two-thirds means that it is a bar that will be difficult for the parties to meet. But if you're talking about the simple majority, which is a motion of no confidence, in no time, there's a possibility that they can actually remove Ramaphosa. But remember, the DA had said in the past that the president must actually fire all the ministers, right, because they're making it difficult for him to be able to govern and to lead this country forward. So
I'd like to come in, Prof, pardon me, on what you're saying is the possibility of a motion of no confidence in the president succeeding. That is made tricky, though, by the fact that the ANC has not voted against its presidents, even at their weakest, in Parliament, until it was good and ready to recall them post-conference, for instance. You also have the other challenge for this group of opposition parties that some in the opposition have not indicated whether they are for or against this campaign. So those votes are not guaranteed to swing the way of the opposition should the motion come before the House.
No, I agree with you that in terms of numbers, if one were to take the behavior of the ANC in the past, the ANC has always supported its president. The only time it votes against the president is when they themselves have taken the initiative. But the past motions have not succeeded because the ANC is able to have those numbers. But there is a view that is emerging now that the ANC, given that it may not even win the next election, the question is whether it will be willing to sacrifice the president in the interest of saying there's enough noise that says he is not fit to be continue as a president. So they have to make that decision. And some have even suggested that he needs to remain and the ANC might not do so bad. So, but these are issues that the parties themselves will be dealing with. But as far as weakening the ANC, whichever motion is being put, it is good for the opposition because the president at the moment does not seem to be ready to answer the questions. And the longer this matter stays, it gives the opposition ammunition to continue to entertain mass action, court action, and also using parliament as a place for accountability.
And we're still waiting, of course. There's now the nomination of, not the nomination officially, but the opposition parties, including the EFF, DA, and the others, have already told us who they would want to be on that panel that will sit then and advise Parliament on whether to proceed with impeachment proceedings against the president. From your view, when that panel sits, whoever is eventually appointed to it, what should the considerations be?
Well, the considerations are very straightforward. One is the issue of law. I mean, one of the things that the president has admitted is a suggestion that he has been involved in business, which is about selling capital, or he's in a farm business. And the constitution is very clear when it comes to the office of the president, that the president should not be diverted into any other thing that may conflict with his duties. So at the moment, we have been busy with matters that are personal, that have nothing to do with the state, that involves the president. So they will have to look at what does the constitution say about that. Then there's an issue of the non-reporting, and this is where issues of law comes in. If it can be determined, as the president acknowledged, that there's been money and the matter has not been reported, and when it was reported, people were almost chased and brought in and tortured, then the president could also be accused of having kept quiet about something that he should know that it is actually wrong. So the whole notion of torture, kidnapping will come in. And the issues of the movement of finance, if you have the type of amounts that are being referred to in foreign currency, then FICA will come into the picture, the Reserve Bank will come into the picture. So the DA and the EFF and all parties have put in a series of laws that they think have been violated. But before we can get to that, there must be issues of fact that must be on the table to be able to determine which laws have been violated and whether they are serious enough to remove the president.
I'm glad you brought in the likes of FICA, because they came up, the Financial Intelligence Center came up with the Office of the Public Protector, the Reserve Bank yesterday, and all of the agencies, at least those who've been speaking about pressure for them to speed up investigations or come up with some solid finding on the Phala Phala issue, have said that they don't want to, and I'm paraphrasing here, drawn into the politics of it, and want to have enough time to conduct a thorough investigation. How do the opposition parties go about applying, yes, necessary pressure for accountability without, to a degree, shall we say, compromising or drawing into politics agencies that are meant to be independent of the fray?
Well, I think the matter of determining whether there's been a movement of money is not something that this organization must present as if it is that complex. And when you have an ad hoc committee, it can easily show that to determine whether money has come into somebody's account and whether money has moved. And we know that these institutions have been very efficient in determining the flow of money. If they can show that there's not been any flow of money, then the president will have to explain how come there is that amount. So the notion of saying, give us time. Remember, we're talking about something that took place about 2 years ago. And this point that the DA is actually putting, that how much time do you require when all you have to do is simply to go to the records. So the ad hoc committee may actually be able to determine that these institutions, despite the claims that they want time, it can probably be shown that doing that which they are asked to do should not take that long. As Malema put it yesterday, that it's almost 70 days after the fact. But we know that our FICA and all this are very efficient when they want to be. So effectively, the idea of saying the president must step down so that this organization should be able to do their job is something that the parliamentarians are concerned about, that these people are career public servants and the professionals, and they are unable to do their job because they are scared. So that is something that needs to be tested. But if we have nothing to hide, then we should actually be put in this ad hoc committee to be able to do its work.
Thank you very much, Professor Sipho Seepe. Grateful for your time, sir.